down now.
I'm going to restart the self-tape because I don't know how this tape is starting. So I'm rewinding, and that's a problem.
Lay down now, dear. Correct or incorrect?
Correct.
It's lie. You lie down. You lay something down.
It took all of my brain power to get context at the first 30 seconds. I get if this is the side I sent them, I'd have the context, but if I don't, if this is, just material they pick for themselves, I have no context. I have no idea what's going on, which makes it hard to adjudicate what you're doing. And that's a technical issue, not a side issue.
Down to sleep. It shouldn't be lie.
No. And why not? Speak it. Come on.
When I lie down, I am subject of the sentence. But when I lay myself down to sleep, myself is the object being laid down.
My motherfuckers. Born again, literated, and shit. You're a quick study, man.
We can talk a little bit about vulgarity and sides, and whether it's sides given to you or your own material. I err on the side of caution.
I'm going a month. This is part of my early release. That and cancer.
Nigga, what? Are you dying from it?
Nah, man.
So the audio quality is really bad, which makes me uncomfortable because I'm not so sure what our actor just said on camera, and I'm not so sure if I should feel uncomfortable what the actor just said on camera.
You know actor? Runs Neta in here?
Yeah.
He got me booked up with this reintegration organization, or,
Still can't hear the reader. Still have no idea what's going on in the scene. Again, not a problem if I gave them the scene, but a problem if they pick their own scene.
Shit, man.
You getting out.
Getting out. Guarantee with what?
Because the audio is really not helping. There's a lot of dropping of words. I can't hear the reader, which is not letting me connect with what he's saying, which is not making me sympathetic to him as an actor.
Whoops. Are yesterday.
No. They'll be yesterday. They're not there yet. You want the kind of money you're looking for? They're the only place you're gonna get it. You gotta go through Caesar to reach them.
How long you known Caesar?
Since I went
He
inside.
protects you. You're his token speak
I work for him.
in exchange for protection.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Oh, I know how it works. You do for him, he does for you. I get what he does for you. But what do you do for him?
So there's a lot of error in this tape, and I'm going to put a lot of that responsibility on the reader, but ultimately it's the actor to help their reader set them up for success. And this a lot of this tape is faulty because of the lag of the reader, the pacing of the reader, and the inaudibleness of the reader. Which is hard when it's Henardo's tape and the reader is really the problem, but it's Henardo's reader.
Hi, my name is Henardo. I'm from Dominican Republic. I have been living in New York since last year. I have been traveling back and forward to my country since I decided to be an actor.
Well, hi, I'm Daryl Eisenberg. It's really lovely to chat with you. So I just watched your self-tape. So first, I just want to commend you. Doing a self-tape at all is hard. I get it. I've had so many struggles just now with my own lighting and sound and uploading. And so just the ability that you were able to get from beginning to end in a self-tape is no small feat. So thank you for doing it. What is your material from? And I think one of my biggest concerns with this tape is that I had such a hard time understanding it that it kept me from really connecting with you. So just clue me in. Was this a procedural? Was this a feature? What was the material from?
Oh, it's a feature. Who sent me the feature was an agency. So it was like for a feature film.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's problematic when I'm watching a tape and I can't immediately understand the context of the scene or what the medium is It just keeps me from really absorbing the action and therefore being able to fairly adjudicate your work in it. Obviously, if this was a self-tape I had sent you, I would have known the material. I would have been intimately familiar with the plot and the character and what we were looking for, but I didn't, which meant that a lot of the technical issues, and some audio issues especially, just prevented me from really just falling in love with you and the work that you were doing on camera, because I spent so much brain space trying to catch all the different words and really understand context. And part of it was, a lot of it was, we had a remote reader. And thank you for having a remote reader. It's the safe and responsible thing to do. We can do social distancing, even on our self-tapes. But it means that there's some technical concerns with a remote reader. And a lot of it is that lag time, when you're waiting for them to finish speaking and then you can start again. We don't get that real time back and forth because you're just dealing with a lag on everybody's end of the computer, which left a lot of dead air with your reader. So there's just a lot of things working against some energy here. And I think a lot of it falls on the reader's part. Both that the scene's very reader heavy, right? Your reader's doing a lot of the dialogue here. And your reader was very slow paced and had a lot of air in their delivery. And we had air on either end of their delivery. So a lot of the tape was really trying to muddle through the reader's part of it till we could get to the meat, which is you. And while we were muddling through it, the audio wasn't great. I couldn't understand what the reader was saying. So a good portion of what I'm viewing on this tape is I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's being said. And all I want to do is enjoy you, but I'm not really being given the opportunity to just connect because I'm still trying to parse through what in the world's going on here. So part of that's an audio quality issue. And also at the very start of it, your tape starts and immediately we are like mid-word with something your reader's saying inaudibly. And so we're not really getting that extra onboarding onto a tape. Now, obviously, if you were in the room, if this was an in-person audition, pre-pandemic, you would come in, we'd say hi to each other, there'd be a moment, you'd begin your scene, I'd know what's going on, I could hear the reader, the pacing would be better, you would end your scene, you'd say goodbye, you'd leave. We don't get that luxury anymore. It's sort of that bookending of you as a human being, of someone that I can just naturally connect with by virtue of you being a human being. And I also don't have that ability, I'm not sort of equate it to like a thing, to have that takeoff and to have that landing. Sometimes we'll call that landing like a button on a scene, or, or the takeoff might be the moment before. These are all sort of words that you probably used in acting class. We still need to make sure we have some tiny little flavor of that, even in a self-tape. I'm not asking for a full slate. I don't really need a slate. I see who you are. Every self-tape we get now has a digital fingerprint attached to it, so I don't need you introducing yourself. But out of context, and especially in a forum like this, where it's not material I know, we still just need a little bit of extra onboarding. And so those are just things to be aware of when creating a self-tape. Both when you're starting a scene, give us a moment, give us that beat before, and then jump in, ideally jumping in with high quality audio, which we didn't really have with the reader. And then at the end of it, have a true end to the scene. In the self-tape you submitted, it just, the reader was talking and then like mid-word, that was the end of the tape. It's just a little jarring. But other than that, a lot of the technical aspects, other than audio, were great. I could see you, the lighting was fine, your wardrobe was clear. And your audio was actually fine. I could, for the most part, hear you. There were some ends of sentences where it got cut off. And I don't know if that was a technical audio issue or just a little bit of vocal strength that we lost at the end of some sentences. But just something to be aware of. In the same way, in like the theatrical world, you got to just like play to the back of the house. We have to just be aware that we may need to overcompensate a little in a format like Zoom, or if you're using your iPhone as a recording device, which is totally fine. An iPhone is high enough quality to get most of what we need for a self-tape, but it may just mean being very hyper aware that some of that subtlety that would be picked up in HD isn't really picked up in a self-tape. And especially if I do know the material, I want to make sure you're connecting in the places I need you to connect. And if I can't hear you, I don't have that information to work off of. By and large, good. Just make sure you are just aware of how it's going to play to an individual who isn't intimately in the material in the way that you are. And hold our hand through it, right? Like introduce us to the character, show us that arc, and then bring us back down to reality at the end of it. This felt just a bit jarring at beginning and end, And it was complicated by the factor that I didn't know the material and I couldn't hear the reader. And most of that tape was the reader.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate all your advices. I'm going to take notes of them. And it's kind of hard because I'm using my laptop sometimes and it's not the best quality. So that might be the issue, I think so. But
Right.
you're right.
Upgrade your equipment. It's just knowing where your equipment may have a weakness and compensating for it. So again, if we know we're going to have a delay because our reader is remote, maybe your instruction reader is like, I don't need a full performance from your reader. I need them to give you just enough to play off with. You may encourage your reader, like take the air out, keep it moving. You may feel like you're cutting off your reader, but you're not. You're just getting rid of that lag time because of the technical. So it's just knowing what are your limitations and where do you need to compensate to avoid some of those limitations.